Straight-sided or tapered, the useful saucepan today on the Well-Equipped Kitchen. Welcome to the Well-Equipped Kitchen, and on today's episode we're going to look at the straight-sided saucepan and the tapered saucepan, as you can see here. These are all saucepans, whether it be tapered saucepan as this professional model here made by a commercial brand, or the straight-sided saucepan made by All-Clad. These are all saucepans. And they are made of different materials, as you can see here. The commercial restaurant tapered saucepan is made out of aluminum, solid aluminum. This one as well, as you can see, they are well used. This one is also aluminum, but there's a process that it goes through which gives it this black color. I don't know what that process is, but this is the commercial branded tapered saucepan. This is an old school All-Clad saucepan. This is a sandwich. The outside is a black material that looks similar to the material on this saucepan here, but the inner working is aluminum. And this is what they call a heavy saucepan. These aluminum ones also considered a heavy saucepan. And the difference between the other one is heavy bottomed saucepan. This is a heavy saucepan, this is a heavy bottom saucepan, meaning that it has a disc on the bottom. So back to the All-Clad here. That's just to differentiate the heavy saucepan versus heavy bottom. This is stainless steel lined, but the core is aluminum. This one is D5, what they call D5, and this is a non-stick interior one. Well, what they have done here is it's 5 layers. Outside is stainless steel, and there's a layer of aluminum, another layer of stainless steel, another layer of aluminum, and another layer of stainless steel before being lined with the non-stick coating. And I think it's worthwhile to have one non-stick saucepan, especially for things like oatmeal, things that breakfast cereals, things that are going to stick. Just a good piece to have. Great for making small portions of steamed rice, really easy. This is also All-Clad, and this is D5 as well. But it does not have the layer of non-stick. This has just got the normal stainless interior. But the outside is brushed stainless rather than being high polished stainless, as this is. These two here, are made by Cuisinart. They are stainless steel saucepans with the disc on the bottom, and the disc is a copper disc with a stainless steel bottom to it. And these are still worthy saucepans. This one here is one of my favorite pieces of cookware. This is a mat for hammered heavy aluminum saucepan. This is a great pot for making soup, great for sauces. It's one of my favorite pieces of kitchen equipment. I do have a rare piece here, and that is this right here. This is Revereware. This is the special Revereware that was made in the 80s, where it's stainless steel lined on the inside and the outside with an inner core of layer of copper, because it is Revereware. And this is the 1801 Paul Revere, and it's the special one made in the 80s. You all know the other Revereware that was made in the 70s that came out in 1976. Just to show you, this is Revereware that came out in 76. And this is the one that came out in the 80s, as you can see here. Beautiful little saucepan, perfect for many things. A cousin to the tapered saucepan, as you can see here, is the Windsor saucepan. This is a Windsor saucepan. We're going to talk about Windsor saucepans in a different episode called Alternate Egg Pans, which will feature on this series later on this year. These saucepans are very useful. And you're going to see these tapered saucepans more in a restaurant setting. You're going to see the straight-sided saucepans in a home setting. You will find both in restaurants. All-clad is popular in restaurants, as is these tapered aluminum saucepans. This is designed for tapered, its shape. It's designed for reduction. Perfect saucepans for making sauces and doing reductions. In one of the recipes today, we're going to learn about reduction, and we're going to prepare a simple recipe for shortcut demi-glace, which we will talk about during the recipes. Also great pans for cooking pasta, blanching vegetables, stewing beans, whether you're making beans, Mexican style beans, or Boston baked beans, whatever you're doing. Great for soup, great for cooking rice, great for many things. For heavy white sauces, when you're making white sauces, I recommend this bad boy here because it's heavy and it holds the heat well, so you don't burn sauces, because you don't want to use a saucepan that's flimsy. Using a flimsy saucepan is not going to function properly. Won't function properly, and it won't have even heating. It needs to be heavy or heavy bottomed. And if you can get all heavy saucepans, even better. But there are a lot of uses for the heavy bottom saucepans. And in our second recipe, we're going to prepare a very old school recipe to show you how to make rice pilaf, which is one of the single easiest recipes to learn. Very easy one. And when we come back, we are going to prepare our two recipes. We're going to start our recipes by beginning our shortcut demi-glace, and then we're going to do our rice pilaf. Welcome back to the Well-Equipped Kitchen and our useful saucepan episode. We're going to start with our tapered saucepan, and I've chosen this size for the amount of sauce that we're going to make here. We're going to make shortcut demi-glace. This is the demi-glace Gold brand here, and it's French demi-glace, and it's made with beef and veal stock. This is concentrated demi-glace. You mix this with 6 ounces of water, 3/4 of a cup. You whisk it together, You bring it to a boil, that's it. What we're going to do with it is, instead of being 6 ounces of water, what if those 6 ounces were stock? We're going to use beef stock today for this recipe, and we're going to use a quart. I'm going to turn the burner on, and we're going to bring this quart of beef stock to a boil. It can also be veal stock if you want. Pour it all in here. It can also be beef stock from a can, or a box as well, or the plastic tub. Now this we're going to bring to a boil, and we're going to cook this. We're going to let this slowly reduce down to 3/4 of a cup to 6 ounces, where we'll mix in our demi-glace. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bring this to a boil. When this hits a boil, I'm going to drop it to a simmer, and I'm going to place it on my stove in the stove in the back, and let it reduce down to 6 ounces. So when this hits a boil, reduce the heat down to low and let it slowly reduce down to 6 ounces. Probably take half an hour or so. Just make sure it's done on low heat. So I'm going to place this on the back burner and bring it to a boil, drop it to a simmer, and let it go. And then when we come back, we're going to be making rice pilaf. Welcome back to our program today. And now we're going to be using our straight-sided saucepan. And what I've done ahead of time here is I've heated I have my chicken stock heated. And we're going to make rice pilaf. What I have here is 2 cups of jasmine rice. We're going to use a rice to liquid ratio of 1 cup of part rice to 1 1/4 parts liquid. So I have 2 cups of rice, and then I have 2 1/2 cups of low sodium chicken broth that I've heated brought to the boil, and it's just hot. It's not in any way necessary to keep it boiling. Just needs to be hot. We're going to start our pot here. Going to put 1 tablespoon of clarified butter and 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil into the bottom of our saucepan first. And it's important here to use a heavy saucepan because we're going to be cooking rice and you don't want uneven. We're also going to put in the pot 2 bay leaves and a sprig of thyme. And we're going to let everything heat up together until the oil is shimmering. We're going to be removing the thyme sprigs and the bay leaves at the end. Now that it is shimmering, we're going to add about a scant half of a cup of finely minced onion. This is an yellow onion here. We're going to lower the heat just a little bit because you don't want to get any color on these onions. It's a sweat. The onions are to be sweated for this recipe. And then the most important step is we're going to saute the rice. The rice has to be fully coated in the fat before we add the hot liquid. We're using low sodium chicken broth here so that we can control our salt. Use the regular chicken broth, you won't be adding any extra salt. So we're going to do low sodium chicken broth. It just works better. You can also use unsalted chicken stock as well and just add all the salt yourself. But I think the low sodium works because it's going to be perkier in flavor than using the unsalted. You want the onion to be translucent and soft before we continue, as you can see here. And then once the rice goes in, we're going to raise it to high and let it cook for a minute, making sure all the rice grains are coated in the hot fat. I also have ready to go, I have the lid that fits the pan and a sheet of aluminum foil that fits over the top, which is also very important because we need it tight covered. Now we're going to add our rice. I'm going to turn the heat all the way up, and we're going to stir until all the rice is coated in the fat and it's cooked. About a minute or so. That is an important step in this recipe, is what they call in Italian toasting the rice. We just call it sauteing the rice. Also Mexican rices and Spanish rices are prepared the same way, and even some versions of jambalaya. I can see that all the rice has been coated. Now we're going to add the hot stock in here. And being hot is important so that it boils very quickly. Now we're going to give it another stir. We're going to add salt at this point. We're not going to stir it anymore. Once it hits a full, vigorous rolling boil, we're going to cover it with aluminum foil and a tight-fitting lid, and this is going to simmer for 20 minutes. Then after the 20 minutes, it's going to sit on a trivet for another 10 minutes, which is an important step in this process, which allows the rice to finish cooking. At the 20-minute mark, it's not finished cooking and there's still a lot of steam. All the water and liquid will be absorbed after 30 minutes. But that has to be done off the heat. I'm seeing bubbling here. We're not going to stir it again. I'm going to place the tin foil on here and the lid. Make sure it's crimped down. This can also be done inside a oven. At this stage, this could be placed in a 350-degree oven and cooked the same way. But we're going to cook it directly on the stove because it's the easiest plan here. Now this is going to simmer for 20 minutes. And when we come back, I'm going to and we'll be back after that 20-minute mark to take it off the heat and place it on a trivet, and we'll take a look at our reducing stock for our shortcut demi. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Well-Equipped Kitchen and our useful saucepan episode. I've taken the rice off the heat, took it off 5 minutes ago. It's been sitting for 5 minutes. It's still got 5 more minutes to go. This has reduced down enough. I'm going to tilt the pan so you can see here. This is what it looks like when it's been reduced down. It's super concentrated. And that's what we want. We will turn the burner back on, but first we're going to add our demi, and this is the supermarket one in the tub. And it's important here that you buy this brand. I'm going to show you the package here, because it's what this recipe works for, is this recipe. So we're going to put this in here. Scrape it all out. It's very concentrated. And just so everybody's aware, demi-glace is not gluten-free. This recipe is not gluten-free. This contains flour, so if you can't have gluten, you'll have to figure out something else. Because this recipe contains gluten. So, all right. Now that that's been added, we're going to use a small whisk and whisk it in. get it fully dissolved before we bring it back to a boil. There it is. It's now fully dissolved, so we can turn the burner on. And it shouldn't be long before it boils. And that's it. You just need to bring this to a simmer, and that's it. This amount that I have made here, that can be, you can make more. And you can take more beef stock and you can do double, triple, and quadruple recipes of it to get more demi out of it. Okay. Being that we are hot, we are seeing bubbles, we will shut it off now. And I'll pour it in this saucepan here to show you what it looks like. It's perfect. Perfect for any recipe that calls for demi-glace. Wonderful stuff. It is not seasoned. Just be aware that the demi is not seasoned. Now I'm going to slide this rice forward here so we can take a look at it. Our 5 minutes is now up, so we're going to uncover. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull our sprig of thyme and our bay leaves out of the rice. And the next thing we're going to do is the important step, and we're going to fork the rice. This is important. If you just get a spoon in there, it's going to be problematic because we need to fluff the rice with a fork. And this is perfect textbook rice pilaf. I'm going to go ahead and pull that other little piece of thyme sprig out of there. It's perfectly cooked. There is a few toasty bits on the bottom that are brown, but that is perfectly fine. And that is your perfect rice pilaf made in a straight-sided saucepan. And then we have our perfect demi, which we made in a tapered saucepan using this already made demi, and we reduced stock. And I'd like to give this rice pilaf a little taste here. Looks delicious. It's perfectly cooked. It's lovely. And super easy. And if you want to make this rice pilaf recipe vegetarian, you can use vegetarian veggie stock, vegetable stock. If you're serving it with turkey, you could use turkey broth. You can use just don't substitute beef broth or veal broth. You have to use chicken stock or turkey stock in this recipe. And if you make your own chicken stock, go ahead and use homemade chicken stock as well. And that is our show for today. I thank everybody for watching.